I'll be honest, this wasn't a video I ever planned to make. State of the collection videos have always felt a little self-indulgent to me. I've always preferred sharing new discoveries with you all rather than shining a spotlight on what already sits in my watch box. But after so many of you have asked for it, I decided it was only fair to put one together. So here it is, a look at some of my favourite pieces, shared with a lot of gratitude and a little bit of nervousness. Please roast me in the comments. Here's what you need to know about me. I'm a bit of a lemon, a cheapskate too. And for someone who works in the creative industry and loves to bang on about how creative I am, I seem to suffer with a complete creative meltdown the second I try to buy a watch, which is how I ended up with the 40mm Tissot PRX mint green quartz. PRX because I got caught up in the hype like everyone else with an internet connection. Quartz because while I'd love a Powermatic 80, I'm a cheapskate. Have I mentioned that? And mint green because it kinda looked like Tiffany blue and apparently my critical thinking skills clocked out early that day. Truth is, that's exactly why I bought it. And yeah, for a while, it barely got worn. It just sort of sat there, looking cool and judging me from my watch box. But lately, I've been reaching for it more and more, like we're finally learning how to get along after an awkward first date. I thought about selling it a few times, sure, but honestly, for the peanuts I'd get for it, I might as well just keep it. Besides, knowing me, I'd just end up buying another one down the track and pretending it was a fresh start. This one is the watch, the crown jewel of my collection. There's no version of my life, now or 20 years from now, where I part ways with it. It's my first proper watch, my first dip into the world of luxury-ish, the Oris Aquis GMT. It was a gift from my partner and my 4 boys, and if I'm remembering right, there was a massive sale on at Goldsmiths that made it almost feel like I stole it. Honestly, I could probably flip it right now for around what we paid, maybe a bit less, but it doesn't matter, I'm not selling, full stop. Some people reckon the Aquis GMT dial is a bit messy, and yeah, I can see that, but that's exactly why I love it. There's so much happening, so many little details to get lost in. It's the kind of watch that keeps you looking years later and I'm still not sick of it. And believe me, it's been worn hard. Now, at 43.5mm, on paper it shouldn't work on my wrist. It should wear me, not the other way around. But somehow, it just fits. Like it was made for me. That integrated bracelet helps a lot too. Genuinely one of the best out there. And no, that's not up for debate. I'll admit it, I've always had a soft spot for Tag Heuer. Blame it on growing up when the only Swiss names anyone seemed to know were Rolex, Omega and Tag Heuer. Or just Tag, if you really want to make my skin crawl. That early love for Tag Heuer never really left. Watches from the Ortavia and the Monaco lines have been parked firmly in my grail list for as long as I've cared to remember. Proper icons, not just background noise. So when I decided I needed a solid, reliable watch for the beach, the mountains, the whatever, but something that I could still wear to dinner without looking like I just crawled out of a tent, the Aquaracer was the obvious choice. And because reliability and toughness were non-negotiable, I didn't even bother flirting with an automatic. Quartz all the way. But why the WBD 1112 over the newer ceramic bezel models? Easy. It's just a bit more interesting. The flood of ceramic bezels has made a lot of modern dive watches start to feel samey. But this older era of Aquaracer still has some character. A bit more grit, a bit less showroom polish. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this thing carries the spirit of vintage Heuer, or that it's some insane value play. It's not, but it's a watch I genuinely love wearing, and at the end of the day, that's the only box tick that really matters. Last year was a big one for me. Not only did I kick this channel off, and seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sticking around, but I also hit the big 4-0. And yes, before you say it, I know I sound like a 14-year-old boy. You're not wrong. To mark the occasion, my partner and my 4 boys came through with something pretty special. a Tudor Black Bay 58. Now, let's be real. As the main breadwinner in the house, shout out to all the other parents nodding along right now. It may or may not have technically been me who paid for it. But it was bought under the full endorsement of my partner, and I'm sure the boys got involved by smearing a bit of snot on the box before it got wrapped up. So sentimental value, off the charts. This one for me is the aspirational piece. A bit of an extravagance, the kind of watch a guy with a regular job and a herd of kids doesn't just casually buy every year. Probably not again, at least not until the kids are finally cleared out and stopped eating everything out of the fridge. Why the Black Bay 58? Simple. It's timeless, a proper classic, and I'm confident it'll look just as good on my wrist at 60 as it does right now at 40. And the rivets? Hot take. I love them. Sorry, not sorry. I'll be straight with you. I've got a real fascination with vintage watches. Like really fascinated. The problem? I don't have the time, the knowledge, or the cash to properly own one, much less keep one ticking. But still, vintage watches, can't get them out of my head. And a birth year watch? Come on, who doesn't want one of those? So when I stumbled across this Rado purple horse, going for the price of a junkyard Timex, I was in. No hesitation. Now, look, any proper vintage collector will probably throw up in their mouths a little at the state of this thing. It's a full-blown Frankenwatch. The case isn't original, the dial's been refinished to within an inch of its life. It's a bit of a mess. But for me, it scratches the vintage itch just fine. It still holds on to a few of the old-school charms, like the slight patina on the hands and that ETA 2878 movement ticking away at 28,000 beats per hour, complete with its charmingly stubborn, no-hacking seconds hand. The 37mm case wears just right, and that acrylic crystal, it's a stunner. Give me that warm distortion over sapphire any day. And why did I go gold-plated instead of something more sensible like steel? Well, if you're going in on something you have no understanding of the history, except that it's spent many nights with some questionable partners, you may as well go in hard and deep. Now, let's talk about what might be the most controversial take in this video. The watch with the best finished case in my entire collection. The Martin SN0129 GMT. I genuinely believe this watch marked a turning point for Martin. Before this model, the brand was already impressively matching the finished quality of watches that cost 10 to 20 times more. But with the SN0129 GMT, they didn't just match them, they surpassed them. The case finishing on this piece is immaculate. It's flawless and I absolutely love it. The dial? Well, not quite there yet. There's still some room for improvement, but I truly think that within a year or two, Martin will have that dial nailed down too. For a watch that cost less than £200 at the time, though, you'd be hard-pressed to find better value. What's even more remarkable is the likes of Martin, along with a few other brands, are becoming genuine staples in serious watch collections. Personally, I've owned a fair share of AliExpress watches, enjoying them for a while before moving them on. But this one, it's stuck. It's getting serious wrist time and has become a standout in my collection. Now, I'm fully aware that even my modest collection may be out of reach for some people. We all have different priorities, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're looking for a statement piece in the £300-ish price range, you'd be hard-pressed to do better than the Martin SN0129 GMT. I'll keep this one brief, as it's more of a personal project than a mainstay in my collection, but I still think it's worth sharing for those interested. The Seiko 6105 Willard has always been on my radar, but there's no way I'm dropping £1 or £2 on a water-damaged piece that could literally explode on me at any minute. So, instead, I went for the next best and most affordable option, the Rdunae R2X. At the time, I was getting into the idea of watch modding, so I figured this would be the perfect watch to experiment with. The final result? Not exactly a masterpiece, but the process was a lot of fun, and I've got plans to revisit it to give it a more vintage vibe sometime in the future. While this watch isn't technically part of my personal collection, it holds a very special place nonetheless. As both a watch enthusiast and a father, a few things are better than hearing the words, "Dad, I'd like my own watch just like you." And when my 11-year-old said exactly that, I was absolutely over the moon. I gave him full freedom to choose his own watch, though I'll admit I gently nudged him in a few directions. Something appropriately sized for his small wrist, something timeless he could wear for years to come, something simple and reliable, ideally quartz, with the best quality we could find with the budget. In the end, he chose the Baltany D12 homage, and both of us couldn't be happier with the decision. The watch features immaculate finishing, a mecha quartz movement, and a sapphire crystal, all rare finds at this price point. Part of me hopes this will start a lifelong passion. The other part wonders if encouraging him into a hobby that drains money so effortlessly might not be the best idea. But then again, some things are worth it. So what's next? At the moment, I'm genuinely content with my collection, but if there's one thing I could use, it's a little more colour. Lately, I found myself drawn to two particular pieces, the new Oris Big Crown Pointer Date in that vibrant yellow, and the bold bright Golby Coastal, which I've previously reviewed. Both bring a fresh playful edge that would add a whole new dimension to my collection. Of course, knowing me, there's always the chance I'll end up buying another PRX instead. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe.